Here are the greatest Americans and their cause of death. Let's dive in. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, died on April 15, 1865. He was assassinated by John Wilkes Booth at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. Lincoln was shot in the head and suffered a severe head injury. He was immediately taken to a nearby boarding house, where he remained unconscious and in critical condition. Despite the efforts of the attending physicians, Lincoln passed away the following morning, on April 15, 1865, at the age of 56. The cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound to the head, which resulted in massive brain damage and internal bleeding. Martin Luther King Jr., the influential civil rights leader, was assassinated on April 4, 1968. He was shot and killed in Memphis, Tennessee. On that fateful day, Martin Luther King Jr. was in Memphis to support the sanitation workers' strike. Standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel, he was struck by a single bullet fired by James Earl Ray from a nearby boarding house. The bullet entered his right cheek, passed through his neck, and severed vital arteries in his spinal cord. King was rushed to St. Joseph's Hospital, where medical staff made efforts to save his life. However, the severity of his injuries proved fatal. He was pronounced dead at 7:05 p.m. at the age of 39. The assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. had a profound impact on the civil rights movement and the nation as a whole. His legacy as a leader in the fight for racial equality and justice continues to inspire and influence people to this day. George Washington, the first President of the United States, died on December 14, 1799. The cause of his death was acute epiglottitis, a condition characterized by the inflammation and swelling of the epiglottis, a flap of cartilage that covers the opening of the windpipe during swallowing. This condition can obstruct the airway and make breathing difficult. On the day of his death, George Washington woke up feeling unwell and complained of a sore throat. As his condition worsened throughout the day, doctors were called to attend to him. Despite their efforts to treat him, including bloodletting and other traditional medical practices of the time, Washington's condition continued to deteriorate. He eventually passed away in the evening hours at his Mount Vernon estate in Virginia at the age of 67. It is worth noting that the treatment methods employed at the time may have contributed to his decline rather than aiding his recovery. Albert Einstein, the renowned physicist and Nobel laureate, died on April 18, 1955. The cause of his death was a ruptured abdominal aortic aneurysm. On the previous day, Einstein experienced severe abdominal pain and was taken to the hospital. Doctors diagnosed him with the aneurysm, which is a bulging or weakening of the major blood vessel that carries blood from the heart to the rest of the body. Despite efforts to stabilize his condition, including surgery, Einstein's health continued to deteriorate. He ultimately passed away in the early hours of April 18, 1955, at the age of 76. It's worth noting that Einstein's brain was preserved after his death, and it has since been studied extensively to gain insights into his remarkable intellectual abilities. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States, died on April 17, 1790, at the age of 84. The cause of his death was complications from pleurisy. Pleurisy is an inflammation of the tissues lining the chest cavity and the lungs, known as the pleura. It can cause sharp chest pain and difficulty breathing. Franklin had a history of respiratory problems and was known to have suffered from gout as well. In the last few years of his life, Franklin's health began to decline. He experienced increasing episodes of illness, including respiratory infections and breathing difficulties. On April 17, 1790, he passed away at his home in Philadelphia. The specific circumstances surrounding his death and the progression of his illness are not extensively documented, but it is widely accepted that pleurisy played a significant role in his passing. Thomas Jefferson, the third President of the United States, died on July 4, 1826, at the age of 83. The cause of his death was listed as complications from chronic diarrhea. Thomas Jefferson had a history of health issues, including digestive problems. In the final years of his life, he suffered from recurring bouts of diarrhea, which progressively worsened. It is believed that his condition was likely due to various factors, including dietary habits and possible infections. On the morning of July 4, 1826, which coincidentally marked the 50th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson's health significantly declined. He passed away later that day at his Monticello estate in Virginia. It's worth noting that medical knowledge and diagnostic techniques were limited during Jefferson's time, and the specific underlying causes of his chronic diarrhea have been a subject of speculation and debate among historians and medical experts. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, died on April 12, 1945. The cause of his death was a cerebral hemorrhage, also known as a stroke. On the afternoon of April 12, 1945, While at his retreat in Warm Springs, Georgia, Roosevelt complained of a severe headache and collapsed. He was immediately attended to by medical personnel, but his condition rapidly deteriorated. Despite their efforts to stabilize him, he passed away later that day at the age of 63. Roosevelt had experienced health issues throughout his presidency, including high blood pressure and cardiovascular problems. He had also been diagnosed with polio in 1921, which left him with limited mobility and requiring the use of leg braces and a wheelchair. The exact sequence of events leading up to Roosevelt's stroke and the specific underlying factors contributing to his cerebral hemorrhage remain a subject of medical discussion and historical analysis. Rosa Parks, a prominent figure in the civil rights movement, died on October 24, 2005. She passed away in her apartment in Detroit, Michigan at the age of 92. The cause of Rosa Parks' death was natural, specifically, progressive dementia, or Alzheimer's disease, which she had been battling for several years prior to her passing. Hit the like button for all of them. Harriet Tubman, the renowned abolitionist and activist, died on March 10, 1913. The exact cause of her death is not entirely clear, as the available medical records from that time are limited. However, she is believed to have passed away due to pneumonia or complications from pneumonia. In her later years, Harriet Tubman suffered from various health issues, including chronic pain, dizziness, and episodes of fainting. She had also endured physical injuries throughout her life, resulting from her escape from slavery and her active involvement in the Underground Railroad. On March 10, 1913, Harriet Tubman passed away at her home in Auburn, New York. While pneumonia is commonly cited as the cause of her death, the precise medical details and underlying factors leading to her passing remain somewhat uncertain due to the historical context and limited medical documentation available. Hit the like button for all of them. Thank you for joining us today. Subscribe for Celebrity Death Reason.